They all say that the key to your success is your mind. But do you really hold the key to your mind? Welcome to the Key to Your Mind show. Imagine for a second how it would feel to be in complete control of your finances, health, and relationships. And help individuals, teams, and organizations achieve that level of success easier and faster. Every week you'll gain access to magic keys to your mind, making all the difference in your personal and professional life. Now here are your hosts, top international NLP master trainers, Naomi and Rami Berkut.
Stepping into your client's shoes can make a huge difference in your approach and the influence you make on your client.
No, definitely. Now, how about when you're, getting upset? When someone doesn't get what you're trying to convey, or just resist everything you say or do?
So welcome to the Key to Your Mind show.
The Key to Your Mind show.
And some of you already know me, but in case you don't, I'm Naomi Berkut.
And I'm Rami Berkut. Now, the following perceptual position technique will change your life and the level of your success in communicating with others, in sales, negotiation, and in almost any hurdle that you may have with others.
Right, and even within you, right, within us, there was this internal mixed messages, right? So, you know what? Without further ado, let's watch it together.
And
Here we go. And of course, we're gonna see you right after the pre-recording right here, so we can discuss it more.
Okay. So let's stop for a moment and talk about something we call in NLP perceptual positions, perceptual positioning. And perceptual positions involve shifting a viewpoint and viewing a specific internal representation from one or two or even three different positions, okay? And that involves simply looking at a picture, looking at an event from a different position, from a different place, and from a different point of view.
Yeah, for example, I wonder if you can remember a time, let's do it together, okay? Let's do it together. And obviously, if you're driving your car right now, don't do it. You may not want to do this right now. But can you remember a time, for example, when, let's see, can you remember a time when you were actually quite motivated?
Yeah, like quite motivated.
That's a good time to remember, right? So remember a time when you were totally motivated. Okay, and I'd like you to remember a time when there were other people present.
Other people were there.
Yeah, maybe there are other people present in that time, in that frame that you're trying to remember. Now, notice that you have the most feeling by looking through your own eyes, right?
When you are associated, for
So
sure.
as you remember this time when you were totally motivated, flow down into your body, looking through your own eyes. See what you saw, hear what you heard, and feel the feelings of being totally motivated in what's called first position. Looking through your own eyes now. Now, as you're looking through your own eyes, I noticed that you can actually feel pretty strongly the feelings of motivation, right?
For sure.
Now, is there a significant person in the event? Is there someone else in the event who's quite significant? What I'd like you to do is float out of your body and flow into their body and look through their eyes back at you.
And that can be position too, by the way.
I want you to do that now. Just go ahead and float out of your body into the other person's body and look back at you during this time of motivation and notice what that feels like. Notice the feelings inside your body at that point. I bet that's quite interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so now why won't you flow out of that second person's body and flow right up so that you're looking from the top of the ceiling?
Position 3.
Way up in the corner, down on the entire scene. So there will be you and any other people in the room, and you'll be observing the whole group of people. Notice as you look down on the entire scene, there is a much different feeling there also.
Okay, so if you need to stop for a minute and do the exercise that Rami just illustrate with like position 1, 2, and 3, then go ahead and do it and then press again here, okay? So now when you're back, what are the perceptual positions, okay? So there are 3 perceptual positions, right? 1 is yourself, okay? This is the first person, the first position, and it's associated, right? The other, which is the second position, okay? It's like the empathy position for rapport associated in the other, right? Like kind of like feeling his or her model of the world. And then number 3, it can be like, even if you imagine on the carpet, it doesn't necessarily have to be on the top. It can be even if you have 3 spots on your carpet and you go from one to another. So that's like a neutral third position. Okay, this is the third position. Okay, so it's always dissociated in the sense that you just like an observer, right? You look at on 1 and 2. Okay, so you look at observer.
So perceptual positions are quite useful in what? Like, for example?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you in 1 second. And just so you know, you can be at number 1, number 2, look at both parties, right? From the top. Oh, I mean, okay, look at both parties from the top. And you can also go back to number 1 in certain scenario where you, like, let's say you had argument with someone and you are going into kind of like, you know, the debate or something, you go into issues kind of, right? And then from 3, you look at both of you. And then when you go back to 1, now the feeling are different. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you ask a question, Rami. So we use it, okay, to gain new perspective in all kinds of situation, right? And it's very useful for feedback, right? Like modeling behavior, like in a second, I'll tell you more about like modeling Walt Disney scenario, but like it can also bring back motivation, as Rami, the exercise you just did, right? So you're like going back to the scenario.
So actually, and if I think about it, like if you have an argument with someone or disagreement with someone, it's a very good practice to get different perspectives on the issue, on the subject, on the argument, right?
Yeah, you all of a sudden you take it maybe less personally. You understand, oh, they're not like something, they have something against me. That's their model of the world. So all of a sudden you understand it more. Like, okay, what can I do? That's the model of the world. And Rami, before
there is this practice that I like to do with our students in the 7-bit magnet, where I take them on this hypnosis journey.
That's true.
Where I guide them and put them in different places in the scenario positioning, so they can see and hear the client's point of view, what they think, what they hear, what they say.
Right.
It's really
so that helps also, like, right, like to kind of like imagine what is like my prospect, right? Like if we talk a little bit marketing, what is my prospect wants? And before I forget, like I want to go back for a minute when we talked about model behavior and stuff, for example, or like the motivation is like, imagine like someone like that when you remember, Naomi, you want to go to give the lecture and stuff, and I go, are you asking me with my fear or without my fear, right? So I can like put myself in a different position and make a decision. Also, I can sometimes put myself in someone's shoes and say, what would that person answer that is like, let's say, more brave than me, right? Like, what would he do, right? Like, so in modeling.
So it's not only interpersonal, it's also personal. So we can improve our personal and interpersonal results, right?
For sure. So, and let's say you also have like an important meeting or negotiation or something coming, or a client or stakeholder or something, you can prepare yourself. You can prepare yourself, but also at the present meeting, okay, when you are there, you can jump for a minute to his point of view, then go to 3. Sometimes people would go even for a 4th position, double dissociate, and look at number 3, 2, and 1 from the top, kind of like observe the all positions.
When you do that, you also can overcome your impulsive behavior.
Right. So like if you're attempting to like take this, let's say, I don't know, chocolate, or stay more in bed, like you can jump from another position, and like you can either pretend it's someone else that is like go-getter and stuff, and like you kind of like go into shoes and get his energy or something, or you can even put yourself in a motivation state. Okay, sure. In another circle where it's like represent the motivation state.
I like to see it. I like to see it as a good practice for gaining more information, which allows us to deliver better results by doing better decisions.
Right, like you can make wiser choices for sure. Yeah. Okay, it's good for improved relationship, right? Like let's say you argue, and then you can like go into their model of the world. Remember, with client is to build a rapport too, and in relationship to build rapport, why not, right? So and then you can look at both parts, right? You can look at both.
In general, it's good when to deal with the difficult people, when you can see their point of view. There you can get into their map of the world, their reality.
Yeah, and even if you don't, let's say, even for a minute, like let's say, okay, they act not nicely, and you don't need to accept it right at that moment, but like what you can is like you can at least not take it personally, because you say, hey, listen, that's how he grew up, that's what he knows, right? So also remember, we talked about the feeling, being in touch or not in touch, like if you want to be in motivation.
So you can detach yourself from the situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we said like market research also. So like how to target customer views. So like what Rami referred before is like that you go into kind of like the model of the world of the customer. What would he feel? What would he think? What is like the pain that he feels that he wants me to help him with? Right?
It's understanding and getting this empathy.
Right.
Point of view, when you get into the other person position and hear what he hears, see what he sees, right? So,
so strengthen the objective view of any situation, right? And it's a great exercise to use in training related to communication, presentation skills, active listening, conflict resolution, right? Emotional intelligence, right? Leadership for sure. Or anything else where deep understanding of the situation and the other person is of importance. Or like, as I said, when I put my fear aside, okay, it can be one circle is me with my fear, another circle is me without the fear, for example, and like the same on stage, you can have like.
So when you want to shift from emotionally charged experiences to get an objective view, like we did when you put the fear aside, right?
Right. So when you want to shift emotionally charged experience to get an objective view, right? And that's amazing, because people like, I can't believe he said that. I can't believe that, right? Hey, we can in a second like change our state, right? So where communication didn't go very smooth for sure, and we said that before, conflict. In negotiation, what you do, you are in part 3, you go a minute for number 1, you go a minute for number 2, there's 2 different people, right? And then you're at number 3. Right? You look at both parties, right? So transfer some of the emotional state we talked about, and congruency, right? Like, so like, I like when Rami, you bring from the Kabbalah, right? Like there is like our action, our thought, and our words, okay?
So it's actually our thoughts, what we say and what we do.
Yeah, like
being congruent. So if you put yourself in those 3 different positions, then literally you can get better understanding of all person involved in this situation, and you get better decision, you can say better things and can do much better.
And I'm thinking also within yourself, right? So for example, you can when you have goals, you can look, okay, Is my value here, let's say, is my behavior matching? Is right, like it can be different position that you see that it's all matching what you want. And if you need even more circle, then you by all means add them. Okay, but have the one that just like observing, dissociate and observing everything.
I like to see it as a way to create more balanced outlook on situation in everyday life.
For sure, for sure.
Right.
And next time you feel a bit stuck in a situation, try it out. Think about how would some other person think about that situation, right? Or try to notice what you can discover about the situation by taking a position of a neutral observer, okay? And so it's, as you see, it's very creative strategy. And as I mentioned before, it's good for negotiation. So now, if we can tap a little bit, just explain them, like when we talk about NLP, we talk about modeling, right? And Walt Disney is like a dream, right? Like he lived his dream. So maybe Rami, you can start telling them a little bit about that.
Yeah. So Walt Disney, for example, a remarkably creative and successful man, as we all know, used this principle as a general creative strategy, which can be used for any type of problem. So what he did, he first created a dream or a vision of the whole film. He got the feelings of every character in the movie by imagining how the story appeared through their eyes.
And so before you go to the next position, so like position one would be dream, like your dreams, right? So we can model Walt Disney, and position one is like, can be like as wild as you want, and it can be visualized, right? Like the vision, you can use that to like strengthen your dream. Yeah.
And then what Walt Disney did, then he looked at his plan realistically.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He balanced money, time, resources, and gathered all the necessary information to make sure that the film could be successfully made.
So that will be position number two, right? So position number two, when you can just look and say, okay, what kind of action do I need to take to make it happen, right? That would be more kinesthetically because you take action.
Right. And then he looked at he took a third look at it from a different point of view, which is the critical member of the audience. Like he asked himself, was it interesting? Was it entertaining?
Right. So like he's like, that would be number three, like kind of like looking at that, like not like critic, God forbid, the dreams. It's just like look at that and see, are there anything that I should add here? Right? Any kind of thing that left out. Okay. So, and that would be more like almost like, also it can be like a self-talk too, right? Like it can be like more auditory self-talk, digital, because you're like kind of like go and look at that, like, and have a conversation within, like, what part can I add in?
And actually,
in general,
you do that. You go from 1 to 2 to 3, back to 2, back to 1, back to 3, and until you get the whole picture dialed in.
So by the way, like there are certain questions, like let's say if let's say you're with your client, okay, and let's say you are number one, you jump into your client model of the world, and then you observe, right? You like look at both parts and observe, just observe. So there are certain questions that you can definitely ask in each positions. Maybe Rami, you can give them a couple of questions.
Well, the thing, like I asked you before, what do you see when you were looking through your own eyes? What do you see, hear, feel, and say from within you, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the questions.
And another thing is, like, you can ask yourself, how did I react to it? Like, why do I take it? Like, like sometimes like in Kabbalah, they say like, right, like, why do I like, what's going on, right? Like I react to it. So, but like in Kabbalah, it's like number 3 also, observe without judgment,
Yeah. So it's about your experience, what you see, what you hear, what you feel, what you smell. What do you experience when you are in this first position, you or your client?
So
right?
when you go to the second perceptual position, you can look at like and try to understand, how do now you're like how do I perceive the model of the world? Like you're in the body of the client and you pretend you are him for a minute and try to understand his filters, right? Like, what does he like? So what does when I'm there, what do I see? What do I hear? What do I feel when I pretend I'm him? Like when I'm him, you know?
Yeah.
What are the things that are important, right? Like think like that.
Or how did he react to
What
it?
is the needs, right? What kind of thought he has, kind of what links he has in his, right? Like the way he's thinking. Okay.
Yeah, so you step into his shoes and you try to understand how is that for him.
And how did he react to a certain situation? It can be. So again, depends on the scenario and the event, okay? And then when you observe, right, when you're in your third position and you observe, you're like, you can be like more like there's no judgment. You can even pretend you don't understand. You just look at things, you know, and you're like, pay attention, right? Like you can look more like what is the difference that you notice? What can I take from this? What thing I can add to it, right? What would advice can I give them
And
or
also
yourself,
what you hear,
right?
what you see, and what you feel when
And
you are in this third position as well.
yeah, and you remember you can always go back to number one where you're like back to your chair. And now you the way you would deal with that would be totally different. So that's about like, I think the main thing about perceptual position. And as we said, you can even be double dissociate, like you can be dissociated at 3 and you can be even like at number 4, looking at 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so it's a fun game. Please practice it. It's very important to practice because it will life change a lot. And also it's like, think less personally, like I don't take it so personally. And also it allows you to really give the best service to your client because you are stepped into his shoes. Okay, so with that in mind, I will see you also as usual in class. Love you.
So powerful, isn't it?
So powerful. So powerful.
And let me tell you something. Here's the thing. As simple, right? It's so simple, right? And as simple as it may sound, it's so profound. It's a profound tools in creating change.
I use it, practically I use it every day. So practice this whenever you need. Practice it whenever you need. And let me tell you, you'd be much more prepared. You'll be much more prepared to your meetings, negotiation, coaching, and so much more.
Absolutely. And we are really curious to hear from you and like hear and like see your comments on how you are planning to use it and how when you were listening to it, right? Like when you were watching it together with us, you got this aha feelings, right? Or this feeling that you definitely can solve issues that seems that were not possible before.
Yeah.
So we looking forward to read your comments.
And again, we'll see you at the next show.